Welcome to the Oliver Fetter YouTube channel. Today I'm working on my 1984 Volkswagen Rabbit Mark I, and I am working towards getting this thing track ready. At the moment the engine runs and drives, and I'm kind of working through smaller details. So today I have come upon the oil system as my next polish up detail. When I put the engine in the car, I just threw it in there with a loop instead of an oil cooler line, and all of my oil cooler lines, including that loop, are old and potentially will fail, because that was why the motor failed in the fall. I was using the stainless steel braided like CPE rubber hoses for my oil cooler lines, and they were probably give or take like 5-6 years old. Um, and one of the ends basically like oozed out of the pressure fitting, the AN fitting, um, and led to engine failure. So, pretty important to redo these correctly, and also in my mind with higher quality materials. So today I will be giving it its break-in oil change, because I'm at 100 miles on my rebuilt engine, and I will also be building new oil delivery lines for the turbo and the oil cooler. And this time around, I will be using PTFE lined hoses, which should be a significant jump in quality over just regular old rubber hoses. And it seems like, I haven't done it yet, but it seems like they actually might be a little easier to work with. So I'm excited to try these out and let you guys know how they work. Here we go. EDI oil change with the stock oil filter housing. You should always start your oil change with a filter, because when you pull this out, the filter housing drains back into the oil pan. So the one thing you absolutely need to get right with oil cooler routing in particular is you need the flow through the cooler to be bottom to top. If it flows top to bottom, well, at least if it's mounted like this and it flows top to bottom, you risk trapping air in it, and that will definitely reduce how well the oil cooler works. So fortunately I marked my ports. This one's in, this one's out. So out needs to feed bottom and top needs to feed in, and no other which way. So I just need to get that right. And honestly, I wonder if part of my failure was that this hose was bent over so hard. It looked cleaner to run it in from this side, but in reality it's a lot easier on the hose if I run it straight to it to this side. So that's what I'm gonna do. And this hose I'm still gonna run down and around, which means the hose I just took off, I think, is the top hose. So I can just copy its length, and then the bottom one I will have to try my best to get the length right. I decided to use Evil Energy, which honestly I feel like 5 years ago was barely known, and now it seems like all I can find. But generally speaking, they have good quality. I'm not being sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form. I did end up getting the kit that came with fittings, which just so happened to be a happy accident, because this is PTFE hose. You can see the white stuff is the Teflon, that's the actual hose, and then it's steel and then nylon around the steel. So it looks nice, and I like the nylon because it's unlike the stainless steel. You won't get the little puckers in your hands. However, it's worth noting that these fittings are a little different than normal AN oil fittings. So they look very similar in the sense that you have this part and this part that screws onto it. But what's very different, and for an AN oil hose, normally you would put this piece around the outside, you would shove this piece all the way on the inside, and then you'd clamp the two together, and this piece would go around everything on an oil hose, otherwise known as CPE. However, on PTFE hoses, obviously this goes inside this Teflon liner, inside that white part, but then what's interesting is you actually have this compression ring, which I am already a fan of because it looks like it will never let go, which sits in here. So it's actually like a crush sleeve design instead of just compressing the hose. And the outside of this sleeve needs to be threaded around the outside of that white Teflon hose, but not include any of the hose exterior materials. So there's, again, a layer of stainless steel and then this nylon braid on the outside, and neither of those can go inside this. This is just Teflon. So between these two should sit just the Teflon, and then on the outside of this will sit the stainless steel and the nylon braid. This is actually really nice, and given I haven't installed it yet, but what I find tends to be a huge nuisance on the stainless steel braided rubber hoses is you have to fit all that shit inside here, and the stainless steel is often like flaring crazily all over the place. So this actually really plays nicely with that, because as soon as you take this tape off, the stainless steel will want to flare out, and it'll be really easy to push this in, and then this sleeve will come over everything and cover up that mess. Now the hose that cost me an engine is over here, and as you can see, this is what I mean. This is a rubber hose on the inside, and it's stainless steel braided on the outside, and here's that stainless steel doing what it loves to do, aka not sit flat. And this is actually the end that failed because the rubber just degraded too much and it didn't hold pressure anymore. But it's like $20 hose that cost me like $2,000. In a vague style sense too, I am going to be switching from that bright stainless with the red fittings just to all black, and I think all black will just look nicer. The other thing worth mentioning is that PTFE is just better in all regards. It can withstand higher temperatures, and it's much more durable than rubber. In theory, the Teflon itself could have basically a infinite service life. It'd be much more likely to fail from this crimping, from being bent too much, or like one of these fittings failing, than the actual Teflon itself failing. And the only other consideration for this stuff is you're not supposed to bend it too sharply, so probably like not much more than that, I would imagine, because it is a stiffer tube. So you just have to be a little more gentle with the line routing, but that's pretty easy because it's already pretty stiff hose. Since this is 10 feet of hose and it already comes with two nicely cut factory ends, I'm gonna use, here to where 35 inches is the length of that return hose, and I'll use the other end till whenever. So I'm only making 2 cuts in it, which is nice. To cut it, you want to tape it first, much like they did here. And you can use a variety of things. The tricky thing being that there's stainless steel in the braid. So they recommend a hacksaw or a cutoff wheel. I'm going to use a cutoff wheel. The only thing you have to be cautious of in either scenario is you need to clean this tube out thoroughly afterwards. However, this is a pre-oil filter section of hose, both are, so if there's a tiny bit of stuff in there, it will get filtered. So I just wrapped the cut with, this is electrical harness tape, but something similar, something a little bit strong. And this is what it looks like after. It did kind of cave in a little bit, the nylon did. Alright, so this is my hose section. I preloaded the 2 compression sleeves onto it, because once you untape the end, it's going to be really hard to get this on or off. It wouldn't hurt to go dry check. The only thing to keep in mind is these crush sleeves here, this thing, the silver thing, are one-time use. So before I fully tighten everything, it's probably good to go do a fit check. Otherwise, these sleeves will be junk. I actually found another use for this piece. You have to kind of pry the sheath away from the lining so you can fit that crush ring in there. And if you try to pry without anything in the tube, there's nothing to pry on. So this aluminum sleeve is pretty handy for that. So this is what that looks like with that fitting installed. There is a lip on the inside, so you can only push it so far. Again, with all that shit kind of peeled back. So now it's time to bring that over top and push the rest of that inside. So this actually pushes right in, no problem, into that Teflon part. This is a little tricky because we just splayed all that crap out. And it said to lubricate the threads and the lining and everything. I don't know what they wanted as a lubricant, but I just used lithium grease. You know, potentially the wrong lubricant. Maybe like something like Silglide, which is a Teflon grease, is probably better. Anyways, I just threaded this because these ends are threaded. I twisted it and kind of threaded it over that expanded bunch, and that worked pretty well. And it turns pretty easy now until we kind of hit that compression fitting zone. So now it's time to actually like crush the fitting onto the line. Okay, and here's our finished coupling. Honestly, I like that. I like that a lot. I feel like the fact that this goes over the messed up part instead of trying to put all the messed up part inside of it. Super handy. Also bomber. The fact that we're like crushing a sleeve over this, I really feel like this is more secure than a typical AN rubber fitting. Okay, oil cooler lines are in. Feed just comes straight to front, which probably avoids the bend that was stressing the fitting a lot. Return comes off the top, so the air purges and runs back. I have a little fancy clip I'm gonna throw on them too. Realistically, like that edge is probably not what you want. I'm not sure what there's to do about that exactly, but if anything, it's keeping the hoses off of sharp edges that will make these last the longest. I'm not worried about the lining ripping out. So I already put some oil in. I gotta put a little more, and then because the cooler probably holds an extra half quart or so. And then I'm gonna test fire it before I put the fan shroud and the intercooler piping back in, just to make sure we're not leaking anywhere. And I need to double check now. I think I'm gonna have to wait on remaking this line till I order an extra part. I want to have an oil temperature sensor, but there's no port on this housing, and I'm already using the pressure port, so I think I need to get like a little inline AN to pipe thread kind of deal, but let's go look at the sensor and check first. So I got a glow shift, whatever, digital temp gauge. I didn't want a digital temp gauge because it kind of screws with my nice set of all dial gauges, but this is water temp, and it's kind of a stupid gauge because it's mechanical. Like the scaling is really dumb. If you want to pick at it, you can, but it's not regular intervals anyways. So I wanted to replace this gauge with this one, which is a little dumb because it's, again, digital, but as you can maybe see, it's dual temp, so I'm gonna have water and oil temp. So gauge install is gonna have to wait because I don't have anywhere to put the sensors, two of them, both 8th NPT for coolant and oil, and I don't have a spot for either quite yet. And this line kit's gonna have to wait too, because I don't want to build the line for the turbo feed until I know where I'm putting that sensor. Okay, well, after a quick test fire, it all almost worked, and then this fitting was leaking profusely. So something about the compression fit didn't work out right. I imagine I need to trim that down just a little bit and start again. But I'm surprised it's leaking. That kind of sucks. Okay, I just rejiggered the hose again. I basically trimmed off an inch and tried again. I think if I had to guess, one, the Teflon liner got a little messed up on my first go. And yeah, it seems like if anything, it's probably best to cut it with like a fine tooth saw, I would guess. I also found that it's better to cut it without tape on it. The nylon sheath on these is actually really tight. If you just have a stainless braided hose, it tends to expand right away, but the nylon keeps it down. So it's actually easier to make room for that crush ring uh, without taping it while cutting it, because the cutting it opened some of it up. The crush rings are a little annoying because I didn't really send extras, so I just took one from one of the 45-degree fittings I'm not using, but that means I only have one more try before I need to order like a whole pile of these. And the line is back in, so yep. Anyways, good reason to test stuff before you just ship it. I'm glad I didn't put anything else back together in the engine bay because that would have been a huge waste of time. And I might not have caught it. So here's to seeing if it works this time. Okay, so I let it get up to about 100 degrees. Coolant temp, oil hoses are hot, just to let it get a little thinner, see if we have any problems develop. And no, so far so good. So think it's safe to say I just kind of bungled something about that fitting install. If I had to guess, I didn't get the Teflon very smooth or clean, and it kind of needs to be both, which is tricky with an angle grinder. So it's worth taking the time to sit there and like dress it a bit. Um, Other than that, I still need to make the other line, and that's a little annoying because there's another line that goes right to the turbo, and that's hard to get to. So I would like to replace that one too, but we'll see if I get that far. Um, in the meantime, oil cooler is back online, so it'll be cool to get the temp gauge installed. And as always, it looks like there's a few more ankle biters that developed since last time. I have a injector return line that's leaking, and it kind of looks like my rear main seal is leaking, which is highly annoying. At any rate, that's how we do Teflon hoses. Uh, and I guess for my own safety in the future, I now have my idiot light in case one of these hoses decides to blow off, so I don't roach my engine because of that. But, you know, the other thing is hopefully they just don't friggin' leak, which with those compression fittings and the Teflon, I would really hope these ones will last and hold up well. Thanks so much for watching.